Yes, you should focus on frugal habits, but you need to know which frugal habits make the biggest difference.
If you're new here, I'm Larry.
I'm Hope.
And we're from Under the Median, where practical frugality meets real life.
If you are ready to maximize your savings while minimizing your efforts, go ahead and hit that like and subscribe button.
There's an old principle originally from Plato that talks about the 80-20 rule. And that's where 80% of your results are from 20% of your efforts.
We have found the 80-20 rule to be super helpful when thinking about money. So here are the 20% habits that we make sure that we do every single week.
The first habit is to start with a weekly kitchen check.
There are several different mini habits that I put underneath the banner of my weekly kitchen check. Let me just run through them really quickly for you. One of the things that you need to do once a week is you need to make sure that you are doing an inventory. Make sure you have an up-to-date list of what is sitting in your pantry, what is in your freezer. And here is the one, this is the kicker, guys. This is the one that helped us to drop 20% off of our food bill. And when you start doing it, I do think that you'll see an immediate difference. Once a week, make sure that you are planning one day that you do a perishable food inventory. Here's what happens. You buy things that get shoved in the darkest, deep recesses of your refrigerator, and you forget that they're in there. But if you plan a day, ours is Thursday, once a week, we pull all the perishables out of the refrigerator, set them on the counter, and then we create a prioritized list that tells us which of those perishable items is probably going to go bad first. The shortest shelf life, those items go all the way at the top of the list, and we work our way down to those items that can probably sit in the fridge for another week, and they're going to be just fine. Now, why is this important? Because then we use that with the next part of our weekly kitchen check, and that is to create usually about a 3-day menu plan based on what you have in the refrigerator. All of us get down to Thursday or Friday night and realize that we feel like there's no food in our refrigerator. There's absolutely nothing to eat in the house. Therefore, we must do what? We must order takeout. If you do your perishable food inventory ahead of that moment, gauge when that happens for you every week. If it's on Friday night or Saturday night, maybe it's Sunday after church. When that happens, make sure that ahead of that, you're doing this perishable food inventory and creating that menu plan based particularly on the items you already have on hand in the house and the items that are perishable. You'll find that you really can stretch that moment when you feel like you need to go to the grocery store. It's going to be another 3, 4, maybe even 5 days out, because statistically, the longer we go between grocery trips, then the less we spend on average every single month on our grocery bill.
So there you have 20% of your work resulting in an 80% payoff. Habit number 2 is to automate your savings. If you have your savings automatically going into your accounts, you're not having to make a choice as to whether you can afford to do it or not. It's just kind of being done for you. This way, we know for sure we are saving money every single week on a regular basis.
We used to hear that old saying, pay yourself first. And I thought, well, that is just stupid. I didn't understand it. I didn't understand the principle. And the more we got into managing our finances and figuring out how we were going to live beneath our means, the more sense that sentence made to me. What it's really saying in essence is if your savings is whatever is left over at the end of the month after you've paid everything, that savings rate will be lower than it could be if you made it a priority to save that money first and then budget off of whatever is left over.
Habit number 3, use sinking funds to stay in control. A sinking fund is a way to plan ahead for expenses that are automatically coming up. These are expenses that you have all the time. This could be your home taxes, car insurance, anything that you have to pay. If you get it worked on early, you don't have to worry about coming up with the money at the last minute.
Let us give you a practical example. Let's just say that you pay your car insurance once a year. It's $2,400. divide that $2,400 by 12, set aside $200 a month for 12 months leading up to that date when that insurance is due. You'll have that money sitting in account ready to pay for that car insurance. And it will be like less frustrating to get that bill and realize you forgot to save in advance for it. We use lots of sinking. If you are a sinking fund fan, I want to know in the comments section, tell us, yes, I use sinking funds. We have probably 13 or 14 of them that we use every single year. We use sinking funds for the money that we spend on Christmas gifts. We use sinking funds for clothing. We use sinking funds for our fun money. It's discretionary money that we know that we're going to spend every single month. There are just a number of different ways that you can utilize this whole idea of sinking funds to your advantage. And then you spend the money down from the account throughout the year. And when the balance is zero, then you no longer do that thing like eating out, or maybe having Netflix, or whatever else goes into that sinking fund account. Sinking funds, they are so incredibly helpful.
But let me address this one issue. If you have a sinking fund for a bill that you have to pay, like your electricity, your water bill, your gas bill, and those go up, then you need to adjust that sinking fund accordingly the next year to make sure that you have that amount covered. So we try to put a little bit more in that sinking fund to anticipate rising prices.
Okay, really quick story. I just got an email last week from our credit union, and the whole email was warning us about a security leak which involved social security numbers. But the one line in that email that stuck out above everything else that was in the email was this line: in our opinion, identity theft is no longer a matter of if, it's a matter of when. And that's why it's really important for Larry and I to have a service like Aura, who is our sponsor for this video, making sure that they are looking for possible leaks and sensitive information. Because Larry and I have made it a habit to know when to make sure that we allow experts to do what they do best. And that's what Aura does. They are the experts when it comes to surfing the web, to looking on the dark web, to finding out if your information has been jeopardized. But the most important thing for us is they make it super simple. They let you know in real time about any information that has been exposed. When I got my first report from Aura, they told me that my information, it was my personal email address and the correct password. That was found on the dark web 15 times. Now, the information was absolutely correct that they found, but thankfully I had changed that password some time ago, so no damage had been done. But if something had happened, it's nice to know that Aura also includes up to $1 million in identity theft protection coverage. And here's something else that I think is really nice. How many of you ladies worry about accidentally leaving your purse somewhere? I worry about it all the time because it happens. If that would happen, if your wallet or your purse is stolen or inadvertently left somewhere, Aura will help you replace everything. We really like Aura's service, and you can try them free for 14 days. You can scan that QR code that's on your screen, or make sure you use our special link. It's right down at the bottom of the screen. It is aura.com/median. There'll also be a link all the way at the top of the description of the video.
Habit number 4 is to find cheaper options for regular bills. Now we're talking cell phone bills. That's a regular bill now. You can find a cheaper cell phone provider to give you a cheaper rate on that. Mint Mobile is the one that we use. They do a really good job at providing service at a very inexpensive price. You can go to any service provider that you're on and negotiate your bills. See if they can offer you a cheaper rate, especially if they think you're going to go ahead and change to another company.
Here's something else you can do, because I can hear it through the internet right now. I can hear you saying, but some of my bills I can't control. I can't negotiate what my utility company is charging me. That is correct. There are portions of your utility bill that you cannot control, and that is the key. Any of those providers where you're being charged a certain amount per kilowatt hour or per gallon, that would be for what your water bill, find out what can you control. You can drop your water usage. We just did it. We dropped 100 gallons in 1 month, and it saved us money on the next month's bill. You can use less electricity. It will drop your utility bill. It's all a matter of figuring out what you can control and then really honing in on those areas that you can control and use less of to drop the bill.
In addition to that, you can stop subscriptions that you're not getting the good out of. Maybe you haven't been on that subscription service for a long time and you're just spending money and not taking any advantage of using it.
Before we move on, here's one more tip in this area that some people don't realize. If you are paying bills monthly, you often save sometimes up to 20% by paying that same bill yearly instead of monthly. If you switch to that yearly plan, make sure that you use that sinking fund that we talked about earlier in the video to set money aside every single month so when the bill is due, you have the money to pay the bill. But it can save you quite a bit of money. We did this 3 years ago with some insurance policies that we had. And they dropped, I think it was 8 or 10%. They immediately dropped by us just switching from monthly, or I think it was quarterly. We were paying quarterly, and it dropped an additional 8% when we changed to yearly.
Habit number 5 is to avoid small treat spending traps. Now, this is where you might have done really good that month in most of your categories, and you think it's time to reward ourselves. So we go out and we spend some money, maybe at the store on coffee, or we go out to eat a couple extra times, and there's just all kinds of things we can do to reward ourselves. So I'm not talking about the $500 you might want to spend on getting a couch. That should be a planned expense that you're working on saving up for. I'm talking about these little rewards that we all kind of want to do it. We want to bless ourselves for being good. These add up very quickly. I'm going to let Hope talk about the amounts of money we're talking about here.
We are talking about, of course, celebrating with discretion. And it's a planned celebration, guys. But let's talk about some of these other little bless me moments that might be costing you more than you think they are costing you. Let's talk about the coffee. Let's talk about the coffee.
I love coffee. We both love coffee.
We do,
okay?
But we drink it at home most
we're not
of the
against.
time.
We're not against it.
We are pro coffee.
Yes.
Listen, 1 in 10 workers gets coffee out every single day on their way to work. That's over $700 a year. Do the math. Let's talk about breakfast. 6 in 10 workers buys breakfast out on the way to work. If you spend $10 on breakfast every morning, that adds up to $1,500 a year. Let's do some more math. Let's talk about lunch.
Lunch, of course, is more expensive than breakfast. 1 in 10 workers buys lunch every single day. So if you grab a quick lunch, let's just reduce it down to $15. You do that 3 times a week. If you round those numbers up, that's $2,300 a year. Now, if we add all the numbers up for breakfast, lunch, and coffees, this can come out to $4,500 a year that you're spending on these unnecessary things.
Are we saying you should never get coffee out?
No.
We get coffee out every once in a
Once
while.
we do, yeah.
Should you not eat breakfast out? Should you not eat lunch out? We're not saying you should never do these things, but doing the math and being honest with yourself about what it's really costing you can be that key that will help you to stay the course and bring things from home rather than going out to an establishment that is selling you that exact same thing that you can make at home for a fraction of the cost.
Habit number 6 is to track every dollar with a weekly budget check. This helps you keep your finger on the pulse.
We start out the week with what we call our big 3. These are the 3 goals that we're going to work on this week as far as our finances are concerned. Now, these are mini goals. These might be something like, let's make sure that we don't turn the air conditioner on. This was important this week. It got up in the 80s yesterday here.
Yes,
we were like,
did.
nope, we are not going to turn that AC on yet. It might be turn up your AC by 3 or 4 degrees. These are 3 mini goals that you're going to make sure that you complete every single week, and they're going to help you to save money that week. But you can't just set the goals, and even setting the goals and make sure that you do the goals, that's not enough. This weekly budget check is the third piece of that is super important. And that is that you evaluate the impact that had on your savings. You need to ask yourselves a series of questions. Did we complete what we said we were going to do? How did it work? Did it help you save money? How much money? Was it worth the time and effort you put in? Are we going to continue this habit to the next week? And is this something that we need to continue for, say, 30 days, 60 days, or 90 days in order to see the impact? Because some of these things that you decide to do every week are going to be small goals that are going to save you small amounts of money. But we've said this before, we will say it again. Small amounts of money over a long period of time add up to a lot of money.
Yes, they do.
That's what this weekly check does. And it also makes sure that if you have a partner, you're on the same page with that partner as far as your finances are concerned. It is super helpful, guys. Try the weekly budget check and see how it works for you if you're not already doing that.
If you're willing to cut your expenses even more, we have a free guide that'll help you go through each item in your budget and cut those items down so that you can have a more affordable budget for yourself. If you're interested, we'll have a link at the top of our video.
And it's free. The guide is absolutely free. Habit number 7, this is something we have done for decades, and that is buy used first. Always look to see if you can get it free. I guess I should say look for free first, then buy used, then look at retail. This is involved in something that we call our frugal hierarchy. Now, when you look at the frugal hierarchy, you want to start at the top of that pinnacle there. That is where you want to start and work your way down. You're going to look for free first. Then you're going to look for low cost used. Then you might need to go to a little more expensive used. It's still used, but you're getting it from kind of a boutique type store, or maybe eBay is going to be a little bit more expensive than, say, Facebook Marketplace. But you want to work your way from the least expensive to the most expensive option. But when you get to that bottom tier, you want to make really sure that you are still getting a deal. You're going to look at how you can save money. Are you able to find it on sale? Is this something that goes on sale in July? Well, if this is May, maybe you can wait till July to replace that item. Then you're going to look for coupons. Then you're going to look for cash back. We use Rakuten all the time to get cash back when we shop online. If you don't use Rakuten, I'll make sure our affiliate link, guys, is in the description of the video. We'll also, by the way, have our affiliate link for Mint Mobile in the description of the video if you want to check that out. Make sure that you are stacking discounts as effectively as possible so that you're saving the most money possible.
So this takes a little extra work on your part, but boy, does it pay off. Another aspect that we want to point out is that these 7 habits are not random. These are things that we've put into place and we found that work really well to help us save money.
These are the 20% habits. Remember that 80-20 rule. 20% of the habits should yield 80% of your results. These habits that we're sharing in this video, these are the 20% habits. So if we were to tell you start here, this is where we would tell you to start, with these 7 habits. If you want to know what frugality really looks like for us, like a day in the life of, we just did a really fun video where we walked you through an entire 24-hour period of our life and what frugality really looks like, and just the little things we do throughout the day in order to make sure that we are saving money. That video is right over there if you want to take a look at it next.
Was that the video where you were yelling at me, don't buy that thing?
No, I yell at you, don't buy that thing all the time anyway.